invited here.
They're leaving so you can get there. They're leaving so you can get there.
We were invited by the President of the United States.
We are listening to Trump. You're the boss.
I thought I was following my president. I thought I was following what we were called to do.
You just heard directly from the Capitol rioters themselves that the crimes they were committing were at the behest of Donald Trump. But it wasn't just your ordinary Trump supporters who were taking their cues from the president. Members of militia groups were also heeding the call to assemble. In a Justice Department filing yesterday, a member of the Oath Keepers, a far-right band of anti-government current and former military, police, and first responders who pledged to take up arms against anyone that they think has violated the Constitution, per their reading of it, a member of that pretty scary group who was arrested for participating in the insurrection indicated that she was, quote, awaiting directions from Trump. Jessica Watkins, a military veteran, sent a text shortly after the election, quote, unless the POTUS himself activates us, it's not legit. The POTUS has the right to activate units, too. If Trump asks me to come, I will. And she wasn't alone. Along with other Oath Keepers, they discussed a brazen plan to ferry heavy weapons in a boat across the Potomac River into Washington, D.C. on January 6th. And according to court papers, they conspired with other militia groups to join their plans, including the Proud Boys and the Three Percenters. And joining me now is MSNBC counterterrorism and intelligence analyst Malcolm Nance. Malcolm, thank you so much for being here. And give me the sense of the gravity of the threat here, because we've seen the radicalization of the Republican Party. Its politics are becoming more sort of end stage, where they're saying, if we don't win elections, we feel that we can do anything. We can, disenfranchise voters, but we can also resort to violence if that's what it takes. And now you've got these groups that are willing to be the shock troops. How much danger do you think our republic is in, given that?
Well, in pretty fair amount of danger. And, I can only warn you so much, Joy. I have been spouting off for the last 3 months that we are headed into a new phase of American domestic violent extremism, where the insurrection was this flash in the pan, which showed you the parameters of the organizations that were there. I really feel strongly we are headed into insurgency. And when I say insurgency, that is a continuous, long-term political, terrorist, and paramilitary effort to discredit the current government and to push forward an alternative government. The only thing they're really waiting for is to see what Donald Trump says here after he is acquitted and in the weeks that follow, whether he's given a new platform. But this is dangerous now. Now we see the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, the Proud Boys, the average bands of militiamen coming together through social media, self-radicalizing just like ISIS, and then taking action.
So the Oath Keepers were formed during the 2016 election. So they've existed. They are a Trump-era phenomenon. But with the other groups, the Three Percenters, these other groups, I've heard of the Oath Keepers before. How much of their zealousness is about Trump himself needing to be in power, in their view, and that being the only constitutional outcome? Or how much of it is just white power, to be blunt? That it could be anybody. It doesn't have to be Trump.
That's a really, really good question. Let me tell you something. Remember the alt-right? All of the people who showed up at Charlottesville, the neo-Nazis, the neo-Confederates, the white supremacists. Well, that's what you're looking at again. Look back to the militias of the 1980s, the Timothy McVeighs, all underground. Move that forward to the Tea Party, where you see a widening of that into the mainstream. Move that forward into not to where we are today, but last year when the Black Lives Matter protest happens, what you saw was the alt-right transform into the foot soldiers of the Trump campaign. They all have different names. They have different structures of their cells. They're minor, self-radicalizing, as I said. But come towards November, they became the paramilitary of the Trump campaign. And when Trump said that this thing was stolen, they, along with the Republican base, moved and took action to essentially destroy democracy.
And so as we get closer to that date, which, you know, I wrote in my first book that part of what radicalized a lot of white Americans who didn't consider themselves some sort of paramilitaries was this notion that was, you know, announced first in 2008 that we're going to be a majority non-white country in about, it was then 2052,
right.
now it's like 2040. I feel like as we get closer to that date, it's going to get worse because now this radicalism has been now baked into the Republican Party. What do we do about that? Because it's now connected to a major political party.
It is. And, you know, forget about 2042. You need to look by the end of this year. Some major currents are going to occur amongst the Republican Party and these, what used to be the fringe, what is now the mainstream of conservative thought, big, small c conservative thought. They are now consumed with having Donald Trump as their tribal leader. And that's what you're looking at here. They want to dominate as the white tribe. I often joke that they no longer believe in e pluribus unum, from many one, but unum tribus dominus. One tribe shall dominate all. So that's where we're going with this. By the end of the year, QAnon and Trumpism will completely consume this party.
Scary world, because there are only two major political parties, and if one of them is this, then we are in some trouble. Malcolm Nance, I'm glad that you are here and a resource for us to talk to. Thank you, my friend.